1948 Scout Manual offers 3 key lessons on how to be an American patriot. And I'm just gonna sort of look through this with you this morning because I think some of it, man, is pretty right on the money. So of the big things that you can be to be a patriot, and we are gonna have that show on patriotism, I promise. I promised in the new year we'll do it. And we'll do it. I'll figure out what day, and we'll get a bunch of people in here, and with a, in and out effect, and people can hang out for a little bit. It's just, the office space here, and the fact that the people who work here are still a little scared of the COVID. It's either got to be all on the phone, or we got to wait a little bit longer. But anyway, the 3 key lessons on how to be an American patriot. And again, I never saw this until somebody sent this to me, because I wasn't a Boy Scout. So number 1 is know your country. The first step to doing your duty as an American citizen. Now remember, this came out in 1948. Imagine if this came out today. What kind of a response it would get? I mean, it'd get you like this. That's the kind of response it would get from the progressives, I think, and the left. Which is complete. It's funny. There's a theme that has been going around for the last couple of weeks, a theme that I've been talking about for, I think, months. Not that I'm ahead of the curve or anything like that, but it's interesting how the liberals / progressives of today are 180 degrees different than the liberals / progressives of the 60s. If you remember in the 60s, those of you who are still or older, as old as me, I don't remember the actual 60s because I was born in 66, so I was a little baby, but I certainly remember the 70s, and those of you who are a little older than me can remember the beginnings, if you will, of the wild 60s and that sort of mindset. But remember, in the 60s, it was about, free love and free, just the idea of exchanging of free ideas and thought, right? And being able to watch what you wanted to watch and read what you wanted to read. And if it was all what you were about, you could do your drugs and trip out, all that stuff. It was like that 60s mindset of freedom. And it was bucking the establishment, pushing back against the powers that be, the man. And now it's like the liberals are like the exact opposite of that. Now it's the conservatives who are about freedom of choice, freedom to make a decision on your own, not being forced by the man, the government, to do something. It's remarkable how that's flipped in 60 years. 60, and what was remarkable, when I was thinking about this driving in, what's remarkable about it is it's been 60 years since the 60s. It's just, time just absolutely flies, doesn't it? Anyway, all right, let me get back to this real quick. So the 1948 Scout Manual, the 3 key lessons on how to be an American patriot. So first, your first duty as an American citizen is know your country. Know its history, right? There's a book that Victor Davis Hanson wrote, The Dying Citizen. Essentially focuses on the idea that nobody knows anything about this country. Nobody knows a damn thing about it. And if you don't go and do your due diligence, nobody can force you to go, read a couple of books or figure a few things out. But the thought that you don't know, and I'm not talking to you, but the thought that you, being you, the public, the greater public, doesn't know the history, the basic history of the country, like how it was founded and what it was founded over. And I'm not asking you to know, everything in the Constitution. You don't have to know every single word. You don't have to be able to recite it. But know that it exists, right? Know what the premise of it is. Don't be a dying citizen. Don't be, and I know it's a lot to ask some people because I know you got a lot going on in your life, right? You've got, Little League games and PTA, well, hopefully Little League games and PTA meetings if you're involved. And there's some folks out there who don't have any of that because they're working 80 hours a week to put food on the table because this whole new progressive agenda has jacked up the price of everything. So I'm sympathetic to the idea you don't feel like you have enough time, but I'm not gonna give you a pass, for not knowing who the first president is, or, when Abraham Lincoln was elected, or what Abraham Lincoln fought over, etc. The basic stuff, the most basic stuff, you should know. You got to get a grip on American history. Know what the founding fathers were all about. Know how amazing that they were. The greatness, this incredibly fragile idea of liberty. Know exactly how it came to be. I mean, it's remarkable. And I've said this before on the air a couple of times. It has to have some level of divine intervention on how it came to be. Like, how did this group of men get together at this time to forge this republic that has stood the test of time and become the greatest country to ever be in 240 plus years? It's really remarkable. All right, so again, know your country. I'm not going to give you a quiz, but I mean, you should every once in a while. If you got 10 minutes, go look something up. Go look up a president. Go look up some law or something that might be interesting to you. I think it would, go a long way, and you could seem like a smarty pants when, you're at the coffee machine at work. Anyway, that's number one. Number two, love your country. And this is one I feel like has gotten away from us, don't you think? Do you feel like the people? Well, I'll tell you what. Do you feel like the folks who are causing the chaos across the country love it? Right? When we had the riots and lootings, do you think the people who were partaking in all that love the country? Do you think they want to make it a better place? Or they're just existing in it because they happen to have been born here? I mean, there's a difference to that, right? I mean, we are, again, part of this experiment. We're trying to form this perfect union together. And I think you need a certain level of humility and grace, even mercy. But at the same time, you can't put up with a bunch of nonsense either. Not that it's my way or the highway. It's about freedom. But it's also, again, about not trespassing on your neighbor's wants and desires and freedoms as well. So that's got to be part of it. But anyway, love your country, love your fellow Americans if you can, and even the ones that you disagree with. Some, like I said to you a million different times, some of my best friends this is interesting because some of my old friends who were once my best friends have divorced themselves from me because of politics. I can disagree with anybody, still be their friend. As long as they're not card-carrying communists and are about, persecution and the restrictions of freedom. If that's what you're all about, then okay, that's a different animal. But if we're having an argument or a debate about school choice or taxes, I mean, that's a legitimate conversation between two Americans who love their country. Because there are some Americans who love their country who think we don't pay enough in taxes. I know it seems insane, but there are people out there who fit that category. So yeah, I mean, respect the folks and respect opinions. I think that goes a long way. I think that will go a long way. It would go a long way certainly in governing, but we've come to the point now with the way social media is and media in general that is going to be a hard idea to break free from, right? Because if somebody were to post somebody with some influence is to post something negative about one side or the other, it takes off and it causes a further divide. But you got to remember that we're supposed to all be in this thing together. Other things that are in this Boy Scout mantra, which I found interesting: respect law enforcement, respect the memory of those who died to establish and defend our liberty, respect your parents, the bedrock of family, and respect the American flag. How do you, those four things? I mean, that's just bullseye territory, man. How does anybody push back against any of that? Why would anybody want to not respect those four things? All right? Respect the people who serve and defend the country and their memory if they have died. Law enforcement, without them, chaos. And we see it. We're seeing it now in certain areas, aren't we? Chaos. Respect your parents, respect the American flag. Not hard. Should be easy. Every generation has to do its part. Every generation has to give a little something. And that's part 3. Do your part. Right? Vote. Obey the law, stay informed. You're allowed to make mistakes, by the way. Like, this is carved in stone, but it doesn't mean like, okay, well, if you stole a candy bar as a 16-year-old or, you did something stupid, it doesn't mean that you can't be a great American. You could be one of the best Americans. You could be a fantastic leader or a fantastic influencer or, a fantastic card-carrying member of the United States of America. Nobody's perfect. But, as you age and gain some wisdom, you just start doing the right thing. And you start rowing the boat in the same direction. So a nation is as strong as its individual citizens. That's in that Scout manual.